Okay, let's get started and talk about beliefs. So often on social media, we hear people talk about clearing your limiting beliefs. But the question is, what are beliefs? Where did they come from? How did they become so limiting? Let's get started. Okay, so beliefs. As that slide shows really clearly, the word lies in beliefs. And beliefs come back to being an idea that is true without the facts. So beliefs are things that we are exposed to that we consistently think is true. Whether or not we've got the facts to it, that's a whole different story. But when it comes down to beliefs, this is a filter and a framework of our mind that likes to take in our world and put a meaning to the way that we experience our world. So when we talk about manifesting and limiting beliefs, a topic that regularly comes up, as I've already said, what are these beliefs? Where did they come from? And I want to take you back to childhood. I want to take you back even just as you were being born. This is when when you were a baby, either in the womb space or just being born, that our energy is pure. Our energy, the way that we think about the world, it is pure. Just like the metaphor of being like that clear glass of water. So as we grow, we start to take on the beliefs of our caretakers. I know this is commonly spoken about, but we will take on the beliefs about the environment, our culture. You know, thinking about that baby, we tell them what their name is, we tell them what their religion is, we tell them what are good manners, we tell them what is right, what is wrong, and it's all of these variety of layers that build up. And whether they're right or wrong is a different thing, but your mind is a sponge. It's just going to take in how the world is around you. So, as an example, the moment your mum panics and gets when you get too close to the road and yells out, like, careful, our unconscious mind can take on that limiting belief from our environment, from our caretakers, that the world is not safe. Now, that may not be mum's intention in that moment, but the way that our mind works is that, like, we take on meaning that we have to be careful in this world. And so as you start to grow up, the question is, have you actually undone some of the beliefs that were there to keep you safe as a child? You know, have you undone them? Are they still relevant for you as an adult? Because so many times when I see clients, you know, they do have that limiting belief, and it is a limiting belief because it keeps them contained and small, but it's that limiting belief that they're not safe in the world. And all this limiting belief came from was like that 10 seconds when they were growing up of that panic. Now, we could transform that example over to, you know, water. And then, you know, you're being in the water, your caregivers are really sensitive to sensitive to being mindful about how you are around the water, and you could pick up their panic if an incident happened around you. Maybe your brother jumped in, and the panic of like you did a big splash and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not safe in the water. And then this can create fear, this can create the limiting beliefs where previously you were completely fine. So, so coming back to the manifestation, if you've got a belief there where you've taken on from your parents, hearing them yell and argue over money as a child, your unconscious mind may take on that limiting belief and taint that water, as I was talking about, may taint your perspective on money. That money, it's not safe to have money, that you want to reject having money because money equals arguments, money equals lack of stable relationships, it means a lack of harmony. This is all going on at the unconscious level. We can't control this. But what we can do is we can undo those limiting beliefs, because what's happening is your experience, your beliefs will echo in and it will magnetically pull in evidence to say that you are true. So if you believe again that you have to work hard for money, money doesn't come easily, then you're going to continue to attract in scenarios to prove that you're right. So once you filter out the limiting beliefs, that glass of water that had been tainted with everybody else's ideas about the world, once you clear out those limiting beliefs, your intuition becomes a lot easier to follow. It's a lot easier to hear, and your intuition can start to pull you to that truest version of you. So if you go through and to clear out any of that trauma, the shadow work, your ego self, all of that, that sort of squashing down the intuition, if you can do that inner work, which we're getting into in this course, then that intuition can start to bloom and you can start to trust yourself again. It's not tainted with all of the doubt. So, how many limiting beliefs have you taken on board from your childhood, or sorry, from even your parents? When you think about the limiting beliefs of like, again, it's hard, you have to work hard for money. It's crazy to think that you're living by this rule and yet it's not even your rule. It's something that you've adopted and taken on board when you were little. So thankfully, these limiting beliefs are actually really easy to shift. 80% of the problem is solved once you actually identify what the limitation is. So your parents' story with money, thinking about your own childhood, your own upbringing. Think about this and maybe journal, press pause and journal on these prompts. What did you hear about money growing up? How were your parents in the area of money? Like, was your mum always worrying about it, or was she too carefree, or was she a shopaholic? Like, how were your parents in the area of money? What was your dad's main story about money? Again, did he have to work hard? Did he gamble it away? Was it all about savings? Was it all about spending? What was your mum's main story about money? What is your quick judgment of the people who have a lot of money? You know, the rich people are, what's that judgment? And thinking about the worst thing about money is trusting the first thing that comes to mind, trusting your intuition here. What is the worst thing about money? Is it because I can't have enough? I don't deserve? What comes up for you? And you can start to journal and play with these questions and understand, when did you start to take on these beliefs? Are they true? Are they helpful to hold on to? So the first thing with changing somebody's belief is that you actually have to become aware of what the limiting belief is. You know, 80% of that problem is solved once you actually work out what is it that we're working on. Is it that the limitation is that you can't be seen, so therefore the business isn't going to be successful? Is it that you're that money is hard to come by, so you have to scrimp and save and restrict and all of that? Like, what's going on for you with your limitations here around money? And a really easy way to journal on this is to just, again, letting your unconscious mind flow, talk to you. It's going to communicate to you a lot faster than your logical mind. Your intuition is that whisper, that first thing that comes to mind for the logic and the ego wants to come in. So grabbing that pen, trusting the first thing that comes to mind, complete the questions on that previous slide, but as well as life is like, money is like, friendship is like, business is like, and start to get a sense of your narrative around what these limitations are. There's a big difference with doing the work to clear somebody's limitations on being seen, being heard in their business versus receiving paying clients. There's a big difference between the two. And so this is where it's good to identify which one are we actually working on. Because when you're in that state of stress, it's just this work. It's all, everything's a problem with money. Like, is it the paid clients? Is it to be seen? Is it to be heard? Is it the confidence? You get into that spiral of stress, and then it's just like it's just too much to know what to work on. So grab that journal, grab that hypnotherapist, grab that NLP coach, grab that kinesiologist, and drill down into the specifics. So I've gone off track. But when you think about it, what experience occurred when you were young that caused you to hold on to that belief? Is that belief still true? And like that scenario with your mum being cautious around little one at the road, careful, is that new choice, or sorry, is that still relevant to hold on to? And if not, like, what is the new choice that's available to you? The world's your oyster. You're free to experience the abundance of your environment. Like, what is the new choice that's available to you? Massive shifts are going to occur when you start to recognize where your beliefs are, what your beliefs are. Now, I want to bring your attention to this particular point here. When you start to do this work, when you start to clear away your limiting beliefs, I want you to expect your manifestations to come in from unexpected ways. Now, I know that may sound like a strange thing to point out, but there is no manifestation fairy who's going to deliver the order to you. Or maybe you are manifesting that. Get in contact with me and let me know if that actually happens. There is no manifestation fairy that's going to deliver it to your door. You do have to do the inner work. You do have to recognize what's important to you. You do have to take action. And sometimes manifestation means that things do arrive to you, that you are gifted those things. However, people often assume that with this old narrative that they had to work hard for the money, so they're going to have to work hard to receive it. It's like, no, we're not going to limit how the manifestation can come in, because once you start to shift your beliefs within you, your reality is going to shift on the outside world. So if you change your belief that you have to work hard for your money, you will find money coming easier now that that barrier of that belief is out of the way. Am I making sense, guys? Because this is such an important factor to take into account, that when you're not proving to be right, that you have to work hard for your money, when you're not pushing that out into the universe, then that barrier, that wall drops away and the universe can see you. And it's like, oh, let's bring all of that manifestation in like fluid. Let's just let that flow in easily. And so clearing the limitations, clearing the limiting beliefs, you will notice new coincidences, you will notice new synchronizations, and you will notice new opportunities start to show up in unexpected ways. It's a little bit like that racehorse that has blinders. These are the limiting beliefs. They keep you in your lane and you can't see the opportunity. And we clear those out of the way and like, wow, this unexpected opportunity, the doors start to open that were, just outside of your vision, you can finally get access to. It's really, really exciting. And so bringing this back to a client example, shortly going through this course with a group, a client was gifted a free trip anywhere around the world. And she asked me, like, Claire, hold on, did I manifest that? I was like, of course you manifested that. Now, while she worked at the airline, and so it was quite simple for that to come in, she didn't always work for the airline. And in fact, when we had originally worked through her manifestation goals, she wanted to travel the world. That was her goal. And I was like, but the universe has already given that to you by giving you a job for the airline. You already do travel the world. And she's like, oh, but that's not what I wanted. I actually wanted to holiday around the world. I'm like, the semantics, it's important to recognize this. It's imperative to recognize the difference between traveling the world for work versus holidaying. Like they're two different categories. And so once we were able to get her to recognize that, yes, she did manifest this, like she put it out there, she wrote down the goals, she did the work, she imagined the holidays. It arrived. Her boss said, like, yeah, here, take a trip around the world, anywhere you want to go. And it was like, Claire, did I manifest that? Yes, you manifested the job, you manifested in the opportunity, you got clear on what you wanted, and the universe moved you like on the chessboard so that you were in alignment to receive that. They didn't give that to people 6 months before you got to that job. The universe waited for you to be in alignment. There it is. The boss got the impulse, like magic, magic. So no manifestation fairy was in place here. It's just divine, that divine synchronicity, that divine lining up uh, once that limitation was out of the way. So beliefs and manifesting. Hopefully, I have simplified that for you so that it makes beautiful sense. And now it's time for you to actually start to explore, what are your limitations? Where did they come from? How are they serving you to hold on to them? And what is the new choice now that you're aware that you have that freedom to choose a new thought? Hope that helps, guys. That's a lot of fun to talk about. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.